Alright, here's a quick video showcasing some stuff I got at the Ramona Flea Market down in Jacksonville, Florida on my last visit earlier this month. So here's an interesting little look at the 3 different lifespans that this casting has been through in about a quarter century. So this came out right about 1998, I want to say. Let's see, what do we got here for a date? It says 2000. Okay, so I guess it's a little newer than I thought. This was the original iteration of the Mini Cooper, this little race car Mini Cooper from Hot Wheels. This is the second version, and this is the third. And you might say, what is the difference? Because it doesn't look like there's much of a difference, but there actually is. So, on this version, you put your thumbnail in there, your thumbnail on this little tab. This one comes apart, and there's a roll cage and an interior and chassis that come apart and come off the body. On this version, we've now lost the roll cage. There's no more roll cage. And on this version, nothing comes apart. There is no... It's riveted. They added a big, ugly post in the middle of it, kind of like with the CRX and some other castings, where there's no room in the trunk or whatnot. So yeah, that's the 3 lifespans this casting's been through. This is obviously, in my opinion, the coolest because it's got the cage and everything. Then we have this one, where we still have an interior, fire extinguisher, and some other cool stuff there. Maybe like a fuel cell in the back. And then there's this guy, which nothing comes apart at all. So I got all 3 of these from a dump in. There's actually a lady there, she's Ukrainian, who's selling a giant bin of Hot Wheels cars. So here's another hot tip. If you want to mix and match these chassis and bodies, which I like to do that sort of thing, they widened this intake plenum, this sort of intake manifold plenum scoop thing on the hood. They widened that for the chassis with no roll cage. And so what you're going to have to do is do what I did here and just cut it down a tiny bit, shave it in the rear a little bit, and then you'll be able to get those interchanged. So now I'm going to put together sort of a golf livery situation with the blue and the orange. And as you can tell, it clicks, but I assure you the other one would not if you hadn't done this. I already, kind of like a cooking show, I already did this ahead of time. So there it is. I shaved that in the back a little bit, and we're good to go. They all click on. So those are the minis. I spent way too much time on these, but I think that's kind of a cool little showcase of... A lot of people don't even realize these things come apart. Alright, next is the time-honored tradition of taking one of these cheap 500 SCCs. Yes, it is a 500, not a 560. Look at the little ribs on the side. And cutting out the B-pillars, because I don't know, that's just the thing I do. I buy these, and then I cut the B-pillars because they were never supposed to be there, because this car does not have a B-pillar. It is a pillarless hardtop. There's just 2 pieces of glass with a tiny bit of rubber molding and a little chrome strip. There's no post there. And as a fan of hardtops, I find it satisfying to do this, so here we go. I've done this to countless colors and variations of this cheap casting. It's been around forever. And these cutters are pretty good quality, so I don't think they're being hurt by this at all. But there you go. Now it's a hardtop, the way it should have been to begin with. I know it's a super cheap toy and nobody cares. Just get some satisfaction out of that. I collect these because it's just sort of a funny thing to hoard. These super cheap cars that were the equivalent of like 25 cents each back in their day. So there you go. Alright, next we got a ridiculous Marvin the Martian car. I saw this and just thought, I've seen them at stores for like $5 or $4 or whatever, and I thought, you know, 50 cents, why not? I think I paid about 50 cents for it. It's kind of neat. Majorette Ford AA with missing body from the rear, I suppose, so now it's just a truck. I know you're thinking, that's a Matchbox, not a majorette. Trust me, it's a majorette. Took a lot of digging through the bin to find these two and pair them up. Found the truck, and later I found this, and I shuffled around the bin, and then I realized, wait a minute, if I put those two together, that actually would be kind of neat, because a lot of times they're missing. And so this is a Volvo. It's a Matchbox. Whoops. 1981. It's a Volvo in 1:80 scale. Like the old school COEs with the round headlights. And it's pretty easy to pair these up. And it's very obvious that they belong together. This Dodge is cool. It's a Matchbox. Cattle truck. Alright, next up we have a Honda Civic Si, 99 2000. That's a McDonald's Happy Meal toy, believe it or not. It is Hot Wheels. It's a much larger casting than the normal one. It's subtle, but it's definitely much larger if you hold it in your hands than the normal one. Then we get this Jimmy Neutron GMC Record, the square body. She had a bunch of these. I think 3 or 4. But this was the only one that I'm like 99% sure I did not have. The Getty towing. I love Frank's towing with the Getty logo on there. Got a few of those. But anyway, speaking of square bodies, here's a K5 Blazer Cop sheriff's truck. Right? Does it say sheriff? I think it says sheriff. I don't know. Anyway. Mountain Rescue. So that's kind of cool. It had a white interior, blue windows. I thought that was too cool to pass up, even though it's pretty beat up. Again, one of those ridiculous Tinkerbell cars. This is missing its body, but whatever. Still cool. I actually didn't realize the body came off of these. And if you notice, a little attention to detail on the valve cover, it has stars, and it says Hot Wheels Farm Company. That's kind of cool. This I got mostly because the whole blacklight element. It's one of those silly fantasy cars they keep sticking in the mystery models. Now for some VWs. These two buses are both pretty cool. I definitely don't have this one, I don't think. The square back is neat. So the square back VW has an interesting little feature here. I'm pretty sure that that's flashing. That's like extra. They didn't trim it properly from the tree, I believe. I believe that's an error, that little tab right there. I don't think that should be there. Next up, we got the DTM Touring Mercedes W202 Dodge Charger cop car, 2005-6 Dodge Charger. Pagani. Some of these have rust on them, as you can tell. I don't really care, but it's sort of interesting. And here's a couple of Corvettes. The 69, sort of like Le Mans attempt body style. And the split window. Been trying to collect every single one of these split windows, every variation, every color. This one's pretty beat, but I grabbed it anyway. And some of you might remember I recently showed you a casting called Buzz Bomb that I was almost not aware existed, even though I had bought one back in the day. Well, here's another one. I love this thing. It's kind of an absurd, idiotic fantasy car that I don't normally complain about. For some reason, I love it. The idea of it being sort of a Hornet Yellow Jacket situation is something cool about that. And again, moving parts, that right there is a winning proposition in today's day and age. Nothing really moves anymore and opens, closes, whatever. So if you're into collecting weird, eclectic, strange fantasy cars, Buzz Bomb is one I recommend. That's a cool one. These honeycomb patterned wings fold up and then click back down when you're Trying to put them away. It's kind of a neat fantasy car. Alright, and last but not least, we've got 3 Fords. This little hot rod just had cool patina to it. I actually thought about Robert. Scale Dreams Robert off of Instagram. He enjoys a good patina. I might pass that along to him if he wants it. Just because it's got genuinely a cool patina to it on the body and the wheels and everything. But more to the point, there's these 2 Ford trucks. Now this one's neat because of the paint job. It's actually very reminiscent of that new Silverado that just came out. And the M2 Desert Fox paint jobs. And Ford did do these wacky paint jobs back in the 70s. They're actually pretty cool. You see them on Broncos sometimes. So that one's cool. That one's pretty neat. Nice little piece, even though it's beat up. But this one, on the surface, looks just a little exciting, but it's way cooler than you think. This was actually potentially the find of the day. This might have been the most exciting thing I found. Let me show you why. So, there's been a bunch of variations of this Sam Walton truck. Now, at one point, they put Walmart on the actual Rail Rider tires. These are General Versatracks. That's cool. I like that. It's an actual tire brand. So for that reason, it was different and cool. When I saw it and I saw the Rail Riders, because I know to look for those when I see these in recent years, past 2-3 years, they have not put Rail Riders on these anymore. But they are still just mainline, so that's nice. But here's the thing. In 2020, or it might have been 2019, I believe it was 2020. I think it was just before COVID. I found a bunch of these, and I was excited to get the Rail Riders. Again, they say Walmart, not General Versatrack, but they say Walmart on them. And they've done in recent years a very nice job of being very authentic with the trim on the truck, so it looks just like when Sam Walton founded Walmart. That exact patina, the trim's missing in the correct places. I mean, it's ridiculously detailed. But there's one thing that somebody pointed out to me, a fellow collector, that I didn't know. This is actually a rare variation. I finally found it. I've never seen one, and I finally found one. This one doesn't just have the dog crate. It has his dog in the back. And so, believe it or not, that's a hard-to-find casting. It's not that unique in any other way. The Rail Riders are cool. You know, it's got the same everything, essentially. But I don't know if this was sort of a treasure hunt situation, the one with the dog. I would almost put this at the level of a Super, because I've been looking for this thing forever. Like, I legitimately have spent a lot of time digging through cars at flea markets and at, you know, obviously yard sales occasionally, but especially at trade nights, looking for this one with the dog. But everybody seems to know about it. The people who have it, they know. And the people who don't have it usually have never even seen one. So there you go. That's something kind of cool. Look for this one. It says on the truck, 1999. It's a Malaysia casting, 1979 Ford F-150. But that specific little detail, that dog in the back, is what makes this casting unique. You've got Sam Walton's truck from when he founded Walmart, but his little dog in the back is... I would imagine there's, from what I've seen, for every 20 of these trucks, maybe there's one that has the dog. I don't know. Or maybe that they made a bunch of them and I just missed it and they're floating around there and for some reason I keep missing them. But they seem to be very rare. I've seen a bunch of these. I've finally got one of these, but I got easily 24 of these trucks. Well, I mean, I've traded some of them with the Rail Riders. So anyway, there you go. That's kind of cool. And by the way, Hot Wheels, bring the dog back. Come on. Come on now. Now that you're not doing Rail Riders anymore, that would be a nice little touch. Stick the dog back in there.